I'm always interested to learn more about, what's happening in the market. What are the problems that schools are facing? Because it's always changing, and there are things that you didn't know are happening that maybe you can help. Or maybe you don't have to change your core offer, but how you present your offer can be tweaked in such a way that it's really speaking to somebody's pain point.
If education sales has you second guessing yourself, take a breath. This is a trust-first, relationship-driven market, and the old tactics, they don't translate. This show replaces guesswork with clarity and a customer acquisition system that builds a pipeline you can trust. I'm Josh Chernikoff, two-time education founder with 2 exits and a lead gen coach for companies in education. Through my EdSales elevation experience over the last 2 years, I've coached 210 companies to leads on repeat. In 2025 alone, I delivered over 2,600 hours of coaching to education companies. My co-host is John Gamba. He also has a successful exit, and now he's the Director of Innovative Programs and the Entrepreneur in Residence at Penn's Graduate School of Education. This is the only show dedicated to customer acquisition for education companies, so consistent listeners go from stalled deals to clarity, credibility, and a pipeline they can rely on. This is EdSales Edge, where education company founders earn their edge. Welcome to the EdSales Edge. I have Paul King, a friend and a client, with us. But before I bring Paul into the conversation, I want to talk about moments in business where a shift happens. And it's a shift that happens that is not complicated. Sometimes we overcomplicate things. Shift can mean many things, but in this case, I'm not talking about a new funnel. I'm not talking about better branding. I'm not even talking about a new offer. It's a decision. And Paul King made a very important decision when he started listening. Simply said, he started listening. And it sounds almost too simple to matter, but when Paul changed the goal of his conversations from explaining what he does to understanding what schools need, everything started to change. Not just his calls, not his presentations, not just his proposals, not just his renewals, even his confidence. So I welcome my more confident friend and client, Paul King, onto the EdSales Edge. Paul, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here, Josh.
Thank you. I'm glad to have you. You have been a member of this community now for over a year. You went through the EdSales, I can't even think of my own company, the EdSales Elevation Experience. And now you're on the EdSales Edge. You've been here before. Give us an update quickly kind of your business and where you are right now in your business.
Sure. So we are a high impact math tutoring provider serving New York City public schools. We're a contracted vendor with the DOE. And when I came into 3E about a year ago, we were really just trying to get some pilots in the door with some schools, which happened while I was in 3E. Since then, a number of those pilots have expanded to year-round partnerships. We have, through our work, working one-on-one, built a district presentation that I've delivered, I think, 4 times now in front of principals, 30 to 40 principals in Queens South, Brooklyn South, Staten Island, and Manhattan. And that has led to new pilots and new partnerships. So a lot of exciting things are happening. And our program is very specific. We're trying to support kids in the bottom quartile in high school to pass the Algebra 1 Regents exam. That is our bread and butter, and we do that by helping them go back and help them with unfinished learning from K through 8 in pre-algebra, which is the building blocks for what they need to be successful in high school. So that's in a nutshell where we are. There's a lot of momentum right now, and super excited.
Needless to say, you are a subject matter expert. You know math instruction, you know intervention, you know what schools, especially in New York City, are doing, you know what works. So naturally, your mindset when we started was, when I talk to a principal, I got 25 minutes. I need to explain everything, every bell, every whistle, everything's got to make sense. But then that mindset started to change. And that mindset started to change in terms of just beginning to listen. And when you began to feel that, it was around the Raise Your Hand campaign. So can you talk about when that shift started to happen for you?
Yeah, so I was in 3A working with you in the cohort, and this idea of the raise your hand is you're listening first. So rather than getting on a call or getting in front of a principal and say, "Hey, I've got this great service for you, and I know you need it. You've got these students who have these gaps in their math foundations, and we're going to come in and we're going to fix that." Rather than approaching it that way, to just come in and start asking questions around what is the problem that you're facing regarding Algebra 1 Regents exams, or what are some issues you might be having with an initiative that's local to New York called New York City Solves, and then it's a district-wide algebra curriculum, where your teacher is struggling, where your students struggling, and just try to listen first. And oftentimes, in doing so, you know, the person is expecting you to try and pitch them and sell them something, and they're also like, nobody wants to be pitched and sold when they just met me, right? So it's a way of it's going to put somebody at ease, and also you hopefully you form a relationship, you make a connection, and then somebody thinks to themselves, here's somebody who really cares about the problems that I'm facing. And then they're going to be that much more likely to listen to you when it really comes time to tell them what you do and tell them how you can hopefully help them solve that problem.
Earning trust. And so you go from this idea of thinking that you have to explain everything clearly to thinking about the idea that actually I want to speak as little as possible. You want to
Yeah.
listen as much. You want to explore pain points. You're not trying to close, you're trying to learn. And you're not pitching features, you're asking questions, which is such a different conversation. And in addition to it being a different conversation, you completely lift all of the weight off of your shoulders because you don't have to close.
Yep.
All you have to do is learn what their problem is, how they define it, so that you can hear it and then turn to them and say, when the time is right, and it won't be in that first call, hey, what if I could tell you that I have a solution for your problem? And this is what it looks like. But that's not what you do in that call. So you start the listening, and a win, and this is something you and I talk about a lot from our friend Alex Hormozy, is BAM FAM. Book a meeting from a meeting. That's the win, right?
100%. 100%. Yeah. Win is you got to keep them talking for about 25 minutes, and then at the end, you get a follow up. No sale, and I think, and I would almost make a game out of it of like, I've got 25 minutes. Can I keep this ball in the air?
Right.
Anytime that there's a silence, can I just ask another question and see if I can get them talking even more? And then, and you end up learning all kinds of things you didn't know that are very useful to you as an entrepreneur. And as for me, I'm in founder-led sales. So I'm always interested to learn more about, what's happening in the market. What are the problems that schools are facing? Because it's always changing, and there are things that you didn't know are happening that maybe you can help. Or maybe you don't have to change your core offer, but how you present your offer can be tweaked in such a way that it's really speaking to somebody's pain point.
If something feels unclear that I'm saying, or your momentum is stalled, don't wait. Text me directly. Yes, I read all of the text messages. The phone number, 771-333-4233. You will be texting me directly. Tell me what you sell into education or where you're stuck, and I will help you. Now, we're going to get back to the show. In addition to you being interested, your note taker is also very interested and is just thirsty for this information. And one of the changes that we made in the cohort, and especially between the two of us, is we installed a note taker for you, because that note taker can sit in there and it allows you to focus on the conversation, to ask the question, yes, to listen to the answers, but also that note taker is going to listen and help you craft better follow-up emails, maybe a LinkedIn post about the conversation that you had, and certainly write a better proposal that addresses their concerns. So can you talk about when you added in a note taker and how that changed everything for you too?
Yeah, definitely. So, there are a bunch of these AI note takers out there. And once I started using one, first of all, I don't need to be writing anything. So I fully can just listen and participate in the conversation, knowing that that transcript's going to be available. But what the, it streamlines and helps it when it gets to hopefully gets to the place of creating a proposal or drafting something for the potential client, because you can take that transcript and plug it right into your chat, Claude, whatever you use, and you build a proposal that is our core offering, but it is tailored in such a way so that it speaks directly to that particular customer around whatever they might be facing. So, and it makes the proposal much easier to create too, because I'm
Yeah.
just copying and pasting a transcript. So it's definitely helped me. It's more efficient, and it frees me, to really just engage and be present and listen.
Education, as I have said, is a trust market. If you're chasing leads, you don't have a volume problem, you have a credibility problem. The Raise Your Hand campaign moves you from cold outreach to qualified leaders who want to start conversations with you. This is me respecting your time because I've got some real help that we can give you. If you want the Raise Your Hand credibility map, text Raise Your Hand to 771-333-4233. That's a lot of respect I'm giving you. I'm throwing a Raise Your Hand credibility map your way. Just text Raise Your Hand. Let's get back to the show. Yeah, true. Obviously, we have no skin in the game when it comes to note takers. I use Fathom. Some people use Otter, whatever it is. They just got to get you the transcript so that you can write better emails, better proposals, better follow-ups, and be more in tune with what you heard. The listening that you do in those one-to-ones, that mindset, especially for you, also spills over into your opportunities to speak. And even when you get a chance to speak, and we have been able to create some wonderful opportunities for you to speak, and you've been getting at it, which is awesome. When you get in front of 30, 40 principals in New York City, instead of saying, here's our program, you talk to them about, here's what I'm seeing in schools. Here's what's working. Here's what's not working. Here's what the research actually shows. And then you get to listen to them. There's no urgency. There's just value. So can you talk about the connection between what you learned from the Raise Your Hand in one-to-one and how that has that spillover effect into groups as well?
Sure. And I think it does spill over this whole attitude of I want to learn and listen from you rather than I want to be listened to. Uh, Complete, opposite way of approaching somebody. And
Mhm.
I'll give you an example. A couple of weeks ago, I presented the program in front of Brooklyn South High Schools District. Great opportunity. Um, Wonderful superintendent and superintendent's office over there. And there are about 35 principals, and we had lunch after. And I got to sit down and have lunch, and I sat down, and I'm just, I had just presented, so I think people, again, they're expecting me to sit down and be the salesman. And I'm
Mhm.
just asking them about, math interventions in their high school. And this high school starts talking to me about, well, we have a very big Uzbek population, and we really need math tutors who could speak Uzbek. That would be really, really, really useful for us. Um, and so that's something that we can certainly recruit for, and we don't have to change our program if we can find the right talent. But that was like, oh, if we can do that, we could potentially get a new partnership. And I wouldn't have
Mhm.
known that had I not been asking them questions. So again, it's just an example of, like, even we're local to New York City, but the districts vary, the schools vary widely in terms of the student populations. And if you're not listening and asking good questions, you can miss completely what a particular principal might need, and miss that opportunity to be the one, to be the vendor that's going to provide that custom solution. It's going to get you in the door. So
Right.
it's a powerful shift, and I welcome that spillover. I want that to be how I approach anyone, whether it's on a sales call or informally chatting at a conference.
Totally. The challenge is that listening feels passive. You know, especially in the position that we're in as founders, as CEOs, growing our businesses, feels passive, but it's not. It's positioning. When you listen, you gather intelligence, you lower resistance, you uncover hidden buying triggers, you differentiate without saying you're different. And you certainly did by saying, I can get you those Uzbek speaking tutors. I can make that happen. By the way, that's just so New York, but I love it. And then it also changed your numbers. Last interruption before we wrap this show. I want to remind you guys the EdSales Elevation Experience is where we help founders develop and design lead generation machines that bring in high quality, high converting leads for their education companies on repeat. Get more details in the show notes. Now, let's bring this show home. All right, so I know you and you're much like many of the founders in the EdSales Elevation Experience, and you're certainly not going to toot your own horn. But let's just talk about a little more about how renewals and relationships and principals reaching out to you, how that's going now, really because you started listening.
Sure. You want to get into revenue?
Go for it, man. As deep as you want to go. This is great.
Yeah. So, I mean, a typical pilot is around 25K. That number is a procurement threshold for New York
Mhm.
City public schools. So schools can buy up to 25,000 without having to go through a bid process. So we price it to make it streamlined for that. Um, I find what we've found is, once you can get in the door and you show real results, which we've had shown strong growth on the Algebra 1 Regents exam across multiple districts with cohorts that are surpassing the district pass rate by 10 points or higher. And once schools see that, they've wanted to renew, a number of them, and they're willing to go through a more rigorous procurement process. So those can be from 50 to 100K, and we've seen that at partner schools in Brooklyn, and in the South Bronx, and now in Manhattan. We're in 7 schools now. I will also mention that the traction we've shown with DOE has led to other city contracts with other city agencies. We have a new contract with Children's Services to bring this model into 2 secure juvenile detention facilities. So these are youth who are enrolled in high school, but they're in a secure detention. And we're running pilots at 2 locations with our tutors going in on Saturdays for high impact math tutoring support. So we're really proud of that, really excited, and it's really all about showing that growth and that this is impactful, and it can lead to really significantly increased partnerships as well.
That's great. The Raise Your Hand campaign generally comes in around the 3rd or 4th week of the EdSales Elevation experience. And we have some scripts and we have some messaging and we have some theory around it. But really, it's a posture. It's walking into every conversation thinking, my job is not to convince you. My job is to understand you. And when you try to sell less, you sell more. And that's what has happened here. And by listening, you build leverage. So I hope that you continue down this road. I can't imagine why you would reverse course because it's going so well. And so if you're selling into education right now and it might feel harder than it should, you can ask yourself the very simple question. Am I talking too much? And because sometimes the most strategic move that we can make as founders is a simple one. So, stop trying to impress and start trying to understand. I hope I've encapsulated that well. Is there anything that you want to add to our fellow education entrepreneurs and founders around listening?
Yeah, I would say, you said it the best right there. You don't stop trying to impress. It's really not about like your credentials or I went to this school or whatever it is, or this is my degree. I think people care much less about that than you might intuitively think. So people care when they feel heard, and they feel like this is somebody who, even before we get to, can I solve your problem? It's like, this is somebody who cares about my problem, who's taken the time. And until you have that foundation of trust, you're probably not even going to get to the point where you have a proposal on their desk that's under consideration. So I would say, make sure you build that foundation of trust first.
So in education, the best sellers, they aren't louder, they're better listeners. And that changes everything. And it did for Paul. I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. Thank you for trusting me and joining the EdSales Elevation experience. Thank you for trusting me with one-to-one coaching. Thank you for trusting me by joining our mastermind. I appreciate the trust and I appreciate the friendship and I appreciate you coming on the show. Keep it up.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great to be here. And thank you for everything you've helped me with.
You got it. All right, that's it for this episode of the EdSales Edge. Thanks for joining us. If you sell into education, the goal of this show is very simple: to help you stop guessing what actually moves deals in a system where trust matters. If you want to go deeper, join us inside the Entourage, our private community for education founders and operators selling into schools. You'll see the details in the show notes. If this episode helped you think more clearly, that's great. Subscribe, like it, and share it with another founder in the education space. Until next time, get clear, build trust, set up a system for sales, and keep earning your edge.